Playing on a Minecraft Forever world can feel lonely at times. Without other players populating the world, it can seem like the world has been left, abandoned, sitting lifeless and empty. But it doesn't have to feel this way. In today's Minecraft discussion, I'll be going through some ideas to help your Minecraft world feel more alive. But what exactly makes a world feel alive? When a world showed signs of life, it becomes evident that something existed or still exists there. Beyond the natural terrain, there should be signs of life from inhabitants living in the world. In a Minecraft world, this could mean having structures, roads, bridges, anything to show that you exist in your world, that you were there. It's like leaving your mark on your world to anyone that were to observe it from the outside. If someone viewed your world, could they tell that you were there? That you collected resources from a nearby forest and then built a cabin with the resources? Of course, there are other ways to make a world feel more alive outside of just building more. For one, I think that a Minecraft world can feel more alive by simply putting actual life in it yourself. Other players are non-existent in a single-player world, but that doesn't mean that you can't fill areas of your world with life, in the form of mobs. Builds that contain animals or are themed around mobs make the world actually feel lived in. A horse stable shows that someone lives here and tends to the horses. They might go on adventures riding into the sunset, but for now they rest until their master returns. It's little details like this that you can make stories for and base elements around to give life to your world. Including mobs in your builds brings life to your world and shows this world sustains all sorts of creatures. In mine, I have a tour boat with villagers riding in it. It could have been empty and it still would have been a good build, but by having villagers act as tourists, actively riding the boat, it helps bring life to the build by telling the story that they're currently on a tour of my forever world. I even have an entire zone of my world dedicated to every passive mob in the game, that being my zoo. My goal is to eventually build a custom enclosure for every peaceful mob in the game to exist in. There are other ways to make your world feel alive without mobs. Builds can feel awfully static without any people surrounding them moving about. However, there are ways your builds themselves can move. For one, there are plenty of blocks in the game that have animated textures or some other way of providing movement to your builds. So I've gathered some of the blocks with animated textures or particle effects, stuff like that. So there's seagrass and kelp. This has a moving texture that you can use to add life to your underwater builds. There's also various workstations and blocks that have various moving textures. We have magma blocks. There's also blocks like the campfire that emit smoke particles that you could use in your builds. I've used them in all sorts of chimneys around my world to give the builds more movement. Blocks like the campfire, torch, dried gas, and even more, they have unique particle effects that can be used in your builds to give them more motion and just add more detail. The spore blossom and firefly bush have unique particle effects that they provide in the surrounding area that you can use in your builds. There's also fireworks that I've used in my giant birthday cake build for my 4th anniversary of my world. And In general, Redstone is a great way to add movement to your builds. In my haunted house build, I incorporated a lightning mechanism so that lightning strikes the top of the tower when it's raining. And in the building community, this is commonly called buildstone, although really what it means is just using redstone in your builds to give them more movement and interest. You also have end crystals, which have unique movement associated with them that you could use in a magical build. Minecarts are another great way to add movement. If you have like a mine shaft, you could have minecarts moving around. Using blocks with movement built into them is a great way to bring more life to your builds. Another interesting way to add life to your world is something that I haven't really seen much of, and that's by incorporating sound or music into your builds. So in my world, I built a music disc repeater, which essentially repeats the music disc inside. So whenever I visit my Nether Hub station in the Nether, the music disc inside starts playing, and I have the creator music disc inside. It has a nice music box sound to it. I think this is an underutilized feature that could be used to provide more atmosphere to builds. You could build a dungeon and use one of the creepy music discs to give an eerie, unsettling vibe to your build. Of course, there's also pathways and roads, bridges, elements that connect your world to each other and connect the builds within it. If people were to live in your world, could they get from one build to the next? Could they walk along a path from one side of your world and end up on the other side without having to swim through any rivers? I've built many different kinds of bridges in my world, and they all have unique individual designs. Some I like more than others, so I have a spooky bridge as part of my Halloween haunted house build. I have a bridge that's white and red connecting to my Mushroom Island. Every time I build a bridge or a pathway or a road, I try to use a block palette and a design that feels unique, seeing as I build these types of things very often in my world, and I try to make them not feel the same. Obviously, if you want your paths and roads to feel consistent with each other, that's also an option that you could do. So if you have like a signature style of building roads, like you use cobbled deep slate in all of the city areas of your build, then you can absolutely do that too. These are just some ideas that you can do to connect parts of your world together. When you connect your world together, builds start to feel less isolated and connected in that way. So these are just some ideas that I have to help give your world more life and make it feel more alive, whether it's adding movement to your builds or connecting them together, creating a soundscape for your builds. I think these are all kinds of ways to make them feel more interesting and less static. The point isn't to incorporate all of these into a build. I don't think that would work very well. But rather, when you make a new build, to consider if you could add mobs to it, or if you could add sound to it, if you could add more particle effects, if you could add more animated textures. When a world starts to feel alive, you get a sense of the personality of the person behind the world. Builds become less static and grounded into the world that they exist in. When your world becomes alive, it truly changes the experience you have playing the game. So I encourage you to go there in some of your own worlds and incorporate some of these tips that I've thought of into your builds. With that being said, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.